Welcome to Super Life, everyone. I'm your host, Darin Olien. This podcast is dedicated to you, to empower you and other individuals creating a healthier, more sustainable world. Today, we're diving into a critical topic and the government's role in the proliferation of phthalates in our consumer products and the groundbreaking steps that you should be aware of that Minnesota, my home state, is trying to do and take initiative and address this extremely important issue. And listen, I have to say, I'm not impressed by the government. You've probably heard me say that before. It's slow. It's an oil tanker on the ocean that takes a mile just to take a little turn. It's a long process, but it also is important for us as individuals to know our sovereignty, to know our choices, to know what we can do in our homes and our lives, and then push back and say, government, you're supposed to have our back, man. And all these tentacles of influence and financial hypocrisies are all in almost everything you can imagine in the government. So we're not getting a fair shake. So we need to be aware, but also I want to highlight when government, certain senators, and certain branches of the government are trying. Phthalates are bad. They're chemicals used in plastics that ultimately make it flexible, right? The more flexible, if it's a wrapping around a fast food container, if it's a plastic bag, if it's a carton or a container, they all have a relative amount of phthalates. They have more phthalates when it's maybe a toothpaste tube that's easy to squeeze, all of this stuff. You don't think about it. They've been incorporating countless amounts of phthalates in all of our consumer goods, from packaging to personal care items, everywhere. This is widespread. This is large, and due to regulatory virtual inaction and the prioritization of industrial interests over public health, it's an issue. It's a big issue, which is why, hey, I wrote a book called Fatal Conveniences so that you can read it, see where you can make changes and make those changes, because it's a guide to help us kind of navigate this modern day world. I'm sorry that it's here, but this is how the world is currently. In order to change something, you need to face it first. However, you realize, and I read through so many documents, that where is the regulatory body that says it's a regulatory body and that is not regulating anything or very little, or it says it in 2030 or 2050, we'll change it, blah, blah, blah. You get it. In the United States, agencies like the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, the Environmental Protection Agency, they all sound good. Oh, cool. We have an Environmental Protection Agency. Now, caveat, there is some great people within these organizations that are pounding their fists trying to get things done. So I don't want to just say all of it's bad, because it's not. It's all in the nuance. So centering around the FDA and the EPA have showed slow, if at all, regulations around phthalates, despite mounting evidence linking serious health consequences and effects. And these are largely around the endocrine disruption. Endocrine disruption is really a disruption in the communication system, hormonal system of your body. Everything that's going on in your body, essentially, is being told by your hormones to do things, react to things. Billions and billions and billions of mechanisms are going on every second. Why these phthalates and these endocrine disruptors are bad? They interrupt and cause reproductive harm, chronic illness, contribute to obesity and diabetes. Unlike Europe, again, which has banned certain phthalates, not all, in packaging and children's products, the U.S. has often allowed industry self-regulation, this is important, to lead this widespread inaction and really contamination on us in these consumer goods. So they say, here's the regulations. You as a corporation, we're going to trust you to do it. Well, you know how that goes. The industrial agricultural revolution and processed food has created a really big issue. Well, post-World War II, industrialization of food and production obviously took off. We had this baby boom. We had to figure out how to make, convenient foods. Well, we certainly destroyed the farming of America. It was built on farmers. 90% of this country was farmers, were farmers. So now we're all shoved into cities and urban areas and left to punt all of the food production to large business. So that's increased food production, which has also increased phthalates. As food manufacturing scaled, plastics scaled, becoming this integral part of packaging and processing equipment, leading to phthalates leaching into our food supply everywhere. So even in the manufacturing process, it's coming into contact with all kinds of plastics. Certainly, highly processed food are coming into contact because they're bits and pieces of a lot of chemicals and food parts that all have been processed and usually all have been touching plastics along the way. So you have this amalgamation of huge amounts of phthalates showing up in these types of processed foods, as there's many other chemicals, but we're focusing on phthalates today. This makes it very susceptible, multiple points of contact for the plastic to be into production, to be in storage and storage containers and wrappers and containers, you name it. Studies have shown that individuals consuming more processed food and fast foods have higher levels of phthalates in the body, and it creates a metabolic cascade of destruction and reproductive challenge, both male and female. And I've talked about this a lot. But what I wanted to highlight today is Minnesota, my home state, native to Minnesota, is making a push. In January 2025, Minnesota State Senator Heather Gustafson introduced Senate File 188, SF 188, a bill requiring food manufacturers to actually test their products for phthalates and publicly disclose the results. Why wouldn't you do this? We know the answer. Follow the money. If passed, this legislation would be the first of its kind in the U.S. You find this hard to believe, right? Because you're sitting there going, wait a minute. You're using these chemicals and these phthalates all over in every bit of packaging, and no one is testing. And certainly, none of it's good for your body, and there's no levels that are good, but they're not even testing for it. So you're going, there's FDA, there's EPA, they have already dropped the ball 1 billion times, so now they're actually trying to push legislation in this file 188 to actually have it be a regulation that they have to follow in the state of Minnesota. Well, it matters, not just in the state of Minnesota, because if they are able to do this, then other states will want to do it. We all want this. So this is aiming to increase, obviously, the transparency of what's in your food, what your food is being contacted by, and reduce this overall phthalate level that is leading to high cholesterol, obesity, Not just this. Now you have to understand, it's not just phthalates that are causing these issues, but they're contributing. And reproductive issues are getting hit with chemicals all over the place. Remember, we have 60 to 80,000 chemicals created every year blasted in our environment. I know, it's overwhelming. I get it. But if we focus on big ones, like the PFASs, like the phthalates, like other endocrine disruptors, now we are actually talking about something. According to Senator Gustafson, Minnesotans have the right to know whether the food they are eating and serving their families is contaminated with toxic phthalates. My bill will help consumers make healthier buying decisions and create a strong incentive for food manufacturers to get plastic chemicals out of our food, end quote. Good for you, Senator. So why does this matter? The bill is critical because it increases transparency. For the first time, the first time food manufacturers would be required to test, not just leaving it up to them and say they are, or not saying anything, and actually disclose phthalate levels, creating public awareness of contamination problems so that we can actually have the knowledge and push back. What a concept, right? This encourages stricter regulation and public disclosure, which would lead to consumer pressure. Because if you don't know, you don't know. You're just buying product. You assume it's safe. Well, they haven't even tested it. So this would create a stronger nationwide pressure that bans and restricts other things. I was so excited to see this finally. This prioritizes public health over profit because there's no other reason. Efficiencies and profit. It challenges this long-standing prioritization of industry's preferences over our health, your health, and my health. Acknowledging that chemical exposure in public health is harmful, not just once, 3 times, 4 times, 10,000 times a week, a month, whatever it is, we're always getting exposed to this stuff. So we need to start somewhere and stop this. This then addresses chronic illness, the contributing factor of metabolic disorders, hormone-related diseases, linking endocrine disrupting chemicals like phthalates, holding it accountable, getting those out, holding manufacturers accountable to making this very important step forward. This is not okay. None of it is okay. So we need to do something. We have to do something. That's why I'm doing this solo podcast on it. Because some of you are listening and you go, oh, wow, there's no regulation? Nope. FDA doesn't have your back. EPA doesn't have your back. We have to initiate another bill on top of a bill, on top of a bill, on top of a bill. All this stuff just to get the right thing done. Phthalates are pervasive in many consumer products, personal care products, nail polish, hairsprays, aftershave, lotions, cleansers, shampoos, conditioners, on and on. Food packaging. Phthalates can leach into food. When plastics touch food, they're in the food and then they're in you. Even phthalates show up in clothing. So these packaging materials and also the processing of those same food-like items. Diets high in dairy and meat have been associated with even higher phthalate exposure. You got me. It's in the study. Medical devices. Do you think about that? Nope. Some medical devices, including intravenous bags and the tubing. So you think you're doing a good thing or getting an IV, next thing you know, you're getting that and a bunch of phthalates, increasing your exposure. Anytime you're seeing plastic as flexible, bing, you know it's phthalates. Household items, vinyl flooring, shower curtains. Whoa, have you opened up a plastic shower curtain and smelled the volatile organic compounds coming off of that, it's gnarly. And certain furnitures also. Children's toys. What? That's right. Children's toys have been especially made from flexible plastics containing what? Endocrine disrupting, metabolic disordering phthalates. So these health risks that are associated to exposure of phthalates are known, and it's not up for dispute. They're known endocrine disruptors, meaning they can interfere, again, with the body's hormonal system, the communication system of your body, your children, your animals' bodies. So the potential effects of that are reproductive issues linked to reproductive problems, in infertility. This is in the research. Developmental problems, prenatal exposure may lead to developmental issues in children, respiratory issues. There is evidence that links between phthalate exposure and respiratory problems such as asthma. These are all linked. Everything I'm talking about, again, it doesn't necessarily cause it completely, but they're linked to the issue. And metabolic effects. Some studies have associated phthalate exposure with direct metabolic disorder, like insulin resistance and obesity. Do you think about that? No, everyone's talking about, hey, don't eat that ultra-processed food, don't eat that sugar, all of that stuff. Are they saying, well, don't eat that food that has phthalates on it? That's contributing to insulin resistance, obesity, asthma, metabolic conditions, endocrine disruption, infertility. So, what do we do? Talked about this before. Reduce your exposure to phthalates. Choose products that are claiming and announcing they are phthalate-free products. Certainly is a good step. Hopefully they're transparent. You can go to their website and you can see, oh, cool. And opt out of that stuff and opt for personal care products that are maybe glass or in other, the chemistry around this is getting better and better, right? There's algae that's kind of coming into the mix as alternatives, but these things are too far away because we have to put enough pressure. And please limit your processed food intake, because just by the mere fact of highly food processed raises the phthalate level. Use alternatives to plastic whenever possible. Bring your own, bags to the grocery store so you don't have to put your vegetables in a plastic bag. You can choose to use stainless steel, obviously glass for storage and other household items. I'm a big fan of mason jars, right? Glass, pour things out, put it in there, buy in bulk, put it in glass straight away. So while Minnesota is leading the way, collective action is necessary. That's why I want all people to know this. Everyone in every country, not just here. Europe's not perfect, by the way. They've got their issues. U.S. is falling and failing, certainly. Support this bill. I looked, there's no petition as of yet. They just filed it. But I want you to know, post about this, talk about this, repost this, share this episode. Minnesota, you can contact the legislatures and express your support for SF 188. You can find the information here in the show notes and then follow it. When I find out if there's a signed petition, I will let you know. But stay informed. Consumer Reports is great. Clean Air Action is great. Reducing your exposure is your first line of defense. Fragrance-free, phthalate-free. So Minnesota's taken the initiative here. SF 188 by Senator Gustafson. Thank you for taking this initiative so that we can talk about it and raise the alarm on government support of healthy products. Come on. This is ridiculous. What are we doing? Let's get behind common sense stuff. Of course, if you are putting a product out in the world, you should test for its safety. You can still make money. True accountability requires federal level bans as well, a shift towards non-toxic alternatives and rethinking of industrial food production. We have to. By staying informed, by taking action yourself in your buying habits and your household and your friends, your family, that is the collective push we need for a healthier future. This is Super Life. This is why I'm here, to help you find and curate and create your super life. But we can't do that if we're being poisoned on one side. Okay? That's why I wrote Super Life, my first book. Common sense, great ways to eat, drink good water, eat good food, celebrate life, support your microbiome, etc., etc. And my other book, Fatal Conveniences, because it's the other side of the damn coin. If we're living in a toxic soup, no matter all the things you want to do to stay healthy, you're getting poisoned on the other side. So we need to wake up, be aware, take action, take control of your life in the actions that you're doing every day so that you can have the best life ever. You, whatever your dreams are, whatever you want for yourself, your life, and your family, I want you to have it. Remember, action and purpose integrated is powerful and they can't stop us. Peace. I love you.